Good day everyone, I am Marilyn Mendoza from Polytechnic University of the Philippines Open University System BPA OUMN 11 and we are Group 6. Today, I will be discussing our assigned topic for Politics and Administration. This covers two discussions. The first one is Political Executives and Leadership, and the other one is Political Leadership and Government Systems. Now let's tackle the Political Executives and Leadership. Thinking about the role of the executive, the role that executive plays, we can utilize an understanding of the three branches of the government. This government body composed of legislatures, and executives, and judiciaries. We can see them take a variety of responsibility. Legislature are the one who create laws. They decide what the law is in practice. Executives implement the law and make sure that the law is being carried out and that it's being followed. And judiciaries interpret the law. This all relies on someone implementing it, and in this case, we're gonna focus on the executives. When we say political executives, these are the government officials who participate in the determination, direction of government policies, and it is core of the government. They include the heads of the state and government leaders, such as presidents, prime ministers, premier chancellors, and other chief executives, and other secondary figures, such as cabinet members, ministers, councilors, and agency heads. It can be someone who taking up the responsibility of governing the city, state, region, or even an entire nation. These leaders are chosen through various processes. Some example will be through elections in a democratic nation, and through lineage or birthright in case of a monarchy, or even dictatorships when one individual declares himself to be the head of the state. So what are the functions of the political executive? The first one is ceremonial duties. Beyond direct negotiations with other nations and their people, the president or the prime minister act as ceremonial head of the state through holding and attending state dinners. This role is largely formal and ceremonial. Next is the policy-making leadership. The main function of the political executives is to direct and control the policy process. They implement and guide members of parliament or Congress. And the executive expected to govern, to manage the affairs of the state. Another function of political executive is to provide popular leadership. When we think about the political executive, such as the president or the prime minister, the popularity of these figures is crucial to the stability of the regime as a whole. If an executive is unpopular, we can see that this may be erode trust in the government, and that can lead to some problems. When it comes to bureaucratic leadership, we expect the political executive to have major bureaucratic and administrative responsibilities. Now, we also expect the executive to take the crisis leadership. When a crisis breaks out, the executive responds by virtue of the hierarchical structure. This means that in the moment of crisis, even the works of Federalist Papers recognize. An executive is an official who can take a whole decision to be the part of job itself. Political executive is also the one who maintains the internal peace and order. The formulation of the national policy for domestic as well as external purpose is the chief concern of the executive. It also includes all activities pertaining to the maintenance and well-being of the state. So there are a number of roles of the political executives. The question is, who becomes a political executive or who leads? It has been explored or assessed that there are three dimensions of power that shape the influence of presidents, prime ministers, and their cabinets. There is the formal dimension of power in which the executive has established constitutional rules and responsibilities. There is the informal dimension of power in which the role of the personality, political skills and experience and the impact of factors such as parties and the media take hold, while the external dimension of power, which is the political, economic, and diplomatic context. There are a number of factors that have affected the success of the executive. There are political ratifications like scandals within a political party. Now let's focus on presidents. Presidents are the chief executive of any presidential system. In a presidential system, the executive and the legislature are elected separately. There are formal separation of power between the three branches of the government. In a presidential system, the executive cannot be removed by the legislature unless it's through measures like impeachment. The executive cannot dissolve the legislature as well. And this is different from prime ministers or chancellors. Parliamentary executive have three essential features. This is what makes a parliamentary executive a typical associates with a separate head of the state, like a constitutional monarch. These parliamentary executives are elected from the assembly. What will happen is that voters will select members of the assembly. The prime ministers or chancellors are accountable to the assembly. They have to keep the assembly satisfied by passing what a majority would want. The power of prime ministers is derived from the leadership of the majority party or a coalition of parties. We also have the political executive cabinets, and virtually all political executive features a cabinet. And cabinets enable government to present a collective face, not applied to assemblies but to the public as well. Cabinet was also designed to ensure the effective coordination of government policy. Now let's proceed to the theories of leadership. Based on the disagreement upon the nature of political leadership, four contrasting theories of leadership exist. Leadership as a rare but natural gift, and it is strictly an individual quality. People lead by the power of their personalities. Nowadays, this theory of leadership is embodied in the idea of charisma. Leaders are created by socio-historical forces. The personalities of leaders are less important than the class interests they articulate. Another theory is an organizational necessity. Leadership is essentially an organizational necessity that arises from the need for coherence, unity, and direction within any complex institution. The last theory of leadership is a political skill. Leadership is akin to the art of manipulation, a perhaps inevitable feature of democratic politics in an age of mass communications. Leadership can be exercised in different ways, and there are three styles of leadership. First is the laissez-faire leadership. Leaders reluctant to intervene in matters outside of their personal responsibility. Another is transactional leadership. This is more hand-on style of leadership where the leaders adopt a passive role in relation to policy making and government management, but are motivated by essentially pragmatic goals and consideration. And last style is transformation leadership, which they mobilize support from within government, their parties, and general public to create their personal vision. Now let's talk about political leadership and government systems. When we say systems of government, these are based on one question: on how is power being distributed? And there are three ways on how government distributed the power: through unitary, confederation, and federal government systems. Unitary systems means 1. It is a concentration of political power in a central government with very little power reserved for the subunits or the states. Example from around the world of unitary systems have to do with the United Kingdom, Netherlands, France, and Spain. Unitary government systems where the central government holds nearly all of the power. In a monarchy, which the area ruled by a king or emperor, the ruler and his advisor make most of the decisions, and this is one example of unitary government. In a confederal systems, there's a system of government that spread power among many subunits, such as states, and has a weak central government, so the Articles of the Confederation set up a government where powers was spread among the 13 states and left the central government with very little power. A good example is the Russian Federation of a confederal systems. federal system of government is a system of governance in which political power is shared between the national government and the subunits or state governance. This is a political system in which the power is shared among different levels of government. And that's the end of my discussion. So special thanks of course to our professor, Mr. ELMER M. SORIANO. Again, we are Group 6. Thank you very much and have a great day ahead.